1,000-year-old of noodle making at its best. And in less than 120 seconds, Chef Tony Wu from MY China can turn this piece of dough into 16,000 strands of noodle. Okay? And you can never do it by machine. What Chef Tony is doing is use high gluten flour mixed with medium gluten flour and blend it in a mixer and let it sit and rest for 6 hours. And then now what he's doing is he's twisting the noodle, stretching the noodle to change the gluten molecule. And by doing that, you know that he will swing it and he will twist it, one on the left and then one on the right. And then you keep on stretching it. By doing this noodle dancing, Chef Tony actually he is stretching the noodle and changing the gluten structure. So when you pull them, they won't break. Now look at that, you twist it once.
No music.
Music. Now look, watch. This is noodle dancing at its best. This is Chinese music. Basically, Chef Tony is dancing and stretching the noodle. This is basically stretching and twisting the noodle. Now what you're doing is, by the time you finish this, you can start pulling it. You can see how Chef Tony pulled it into one strand of noodle. Every time he folded, it doubled. So after 12 folding, 16,000 strands of noodle. And we are one of the very few restaurants in the US that actually have such performance. 可以了吗？好。Now, this is chef daily exercise. Okay? Now look at this. Chef using flour. Now this is high gluten and medium gluten flour. Let it rest for 6 hours. And then you start with one strand of noodle. Look at how he does it, okay? Behind Chef Tony's back, right on top of his butt, there's a battery pack. So that's the reason why this is all like electric motor. Now you notice that he twists the noodle and he folded one on the left and one on the right, like you're making ropes. So this way when you pull them, they don't break as easily. Most chefs, now you start with one strand of noodle, right? One strand of noodle, look at that. He folded and then you become two strands of noodle. And you fold it again, you have 4 strands of noodle. You fold it again, you have 8. And then you fold it again, you have 16. So as you multiply geometric progression, by the time you finish, you notice that in no time, this will turn into 16,000 strands of noodle. And no machine can replace a human noodle machine like Chef Tony. And Chef Tony is a master of noodle and master of Northern and Cantonese cuisine for the last 35 years. And him and I, we do a lot of culinary exhibition all over the world, particularly in China. And we are bringing you something that is thousands of years of tradition. That how, in the old days, there's no noodle machine. How chef make noodles. Now, this is at least 2,000 strands. You fold it again, 4,000 strands. You fold it again, it's 8,000 strands. And then you use a knife. Finish. And come and take a look at this. This is the human machine. By doing that, let me show you that this can turn into a noodle pancake like this. And then you can serve it as dessert, sprinkle it. No machine can do this. Feel it. You will be totally amazed. This is the first encounter of the human noodle machine. Look at that. You will be totally amazed. Not only Chef Tony of MI China at the Westview Mall is a master noodle maker. He's also a master chef and a master vegetable artist, vegetable carving artist. So today, if you get a chance, take a look at what he is doing. 36 years of experience in the kitchen. And I beat him by 3 years. So anyway, when you look at it, you can truly appreciate how the Chinese can make noodle without any machine. And go home and practice. It takes you 16 years to achieve this. 16 years.
Thank you so much, Martin. Thank you, Chef Wu. The unstoppable human noodle making machine. I also want to thank the break sponsors, Heinz, and the Flavor Discovery tasting sponsors, Tokai Pickling, USA Rice, and Wixon. And I also want all of us to give a big round of applause to a very special guest we have in the audience. Chef Philippe Tessier, who won the Silver Bocuse this year, is here with us, and I hope he can stand. He's right over there. And a big round of applause. Woo! He deserves a break, so I'm very happy he gets to sit and watch other people work for a while. And now we are going to go take a little trip to Bangkok and see what's going on there with great restaurants and innovative chefs. And to take us through this session, we have Leisa Tyler, who was born in Australia but has been living in Asia for 17 years. She's a food journalist and runs a lot of industry-led forums and conferences in Asia. And she was the founding director of Asia's 50 Best Restaurant Forum and Workshop Program, among others. And one thing that is really interesting about Leisa, and a lot, but this particular thing I hope you get to talk to her about, is that she manages a farm in Malaysia and grows heirloom European and Asian herbs and vegetables for 4 Singaporean restaurants. So journalist, farmer, Leisa Tyler.
Thanks. Morning, everybody. So Bangkok, a centre of influence and innovation. I think Bangkok has developed incredibly over the last 10 to 15 years. I first moved there in the year 2000, and it was quite a different city than what it is now. The population boomed, there were several political coups, there's lots of money coming into the city. It's had a big influence on everything, including design and especially on restaurants. There's loads of restaurants now, including in the 50 Best Restaurants lists. And to demonstrate this innovation, we have 2 teams of chefs today. So Prin Polsuk from Nam in Bangkok and Bo and Dylan from Bolan in Bangkok. So first of all, Prin, to introduce Prin. So Prin is the head chef of Nam at the Metropolitan Hotel in Bangkok, which was formerly Asia's best restaurant, according to Asia's 50 Best Restaurants list, and currently sitting at number 13 in the world's 50 Best list. Prin grew up in Bangkok before moving to London to work under David Thompson at the original Nam, which was the first Thai cuisine restaurant in the world to receive a Michelin star, but it's since closed. He remains one of David's closest and most trusted advisors. And many of you may have remembered Prin's dish yesterday, which was the beef larp, which probably introduced you to a whole new level of spice. Prin will be demoing a duck egg with sweet fish sauce and minced bird curry. This case, a guinea fowl, with shampooed ginger, which is an updated version of a very old dish that generally you can't find anymore in Thailand. Traditionally, the guinea fowl was served sliced, and Prin will be preparing it with minced bird. Okay.
Hello. Yes. Good morning, everyone. Yep. And yeah, welcome to Thailand. Today, gonna talk about the food in my restaurant first, because my restaurant, and we do like a very authentic food. It means the food you cook in your family, like your mom cook it for you when you was young, eat together. We try to do like make it warm and comfortable food, like a home cooking. The idea is we eat together. Everything that we made, like a curry, village, stir fry or grill, put in the table in the same time. And especially we eat with rice that you know about, like it's jasmine rice. Because the rice in Thailand is very important, because we respect the rice, because the rice is our life in Thailand. That's why we respect. Yep. Today, I think I'm going to start to cook first, because it's very complicated about the cuisine that I try to present you, to present the world again about the Thai food. It's not the thing that you know before, and we try to do the new things in the restaurant too, and let the world know we have different food, different curry that you know. Okay, today now I'm start to do sweet fish sauce first. The first thing is the fish sauce. Second thing is palm sugar. And third is tamarind water. The fish sauce in Thailand, normally for the season, everything, we use fish sauce. Because it tastes like a saltiness, yes, of course, and a little bit sweet in the end, because it contains about anchovy, salt, and sugar. And we manage like 6 months or less 3 months, and we use for that. For me, it's not stinky, but for you it should be stinky. But if you put in the curry or put in the heat, the smell is gone, but the less a little bit fishy and tastes nice. Okay. In the beginning, I put the fish sauce in there, a little bit. Yeah, really high heat, a little bit. And dissolve with palm sugar. Because the main idea of this dish, because it's going to be tasted like a sourness, saltiness, and sweet. Yeah.
What do you think that fish sauce gives to a dish that salt doesn't?
For that?
What does fish sauce give to the dish that salt doesn't?
Because the fish sauce is not like too salty, you know, like a strong salt, like a really salty, but a little bit what we call sweet in the end, and it smells the fishy taste, you know. And
Do you think it's the most important dish,
Yep.
most important ingredient in Thai cuisine?
yes,
Yeah.
very much. Because in Thailand, in a down south, or we use like anchovy to do fish sauce, but in the up north, we use like a fresh water, like a small fish, to do like a fish sauce. But we use the salt from the sea, or before we use the earth salt, yeah, instead. Okay, now we dissolve a little bit on the side. Okay, by idea we do the curry, because in Thailand we eat something spicy, and we have a side dish, it's not spicy. And eat with rice, you have the balance of the taste. Because this dish contains like sour, salty, and sweet, and the curry is spicy, creamy, and a lot of layer of taste about the herb, about the spiciness thing, about the holy basil. The taste is like a lot of layer. Okay, now I put the tamarind water in. Yeah.
So what did you just put in?
Tamarind water.
Tamarind?
Yep. Because in Thailand we use a lot of sourness things. We have lamb, kaffir lamb,
Yeah.
Asian strong, calamari lamb, and sour cucumber.
Kaffir lime.
Kaffir lamb.
What's that? Coriander?
No, kaffir lamb.
Oh, kaffir lamb, yeah.
Yeah, not coriander. It's a lot of lamb and sour cucumber.
Okay.
And sour leaves. There's like a lot of sourness we use
Yes.
in the cuisine. Yep. And we set aside with this soap. And for me, I think you make more fragrant or more flavor for the taste. Because the curry contains about lemongrass and a little bit kaffir lamb leaves.
Okay.
I put this for flavor a little bit, and we blew the lemongrass in there. Yep.
Lemongrass.
Yep. And set aside. It absorb the flavor. Now, the next thing is like a deep fry eggs, because this egg is very new for the now. Before we call kai lu khoi in Thailand, the son-in-law eggs.
Okay.
Yeah, in Thai. But the method is we boil the eggs. It's going to be hard boiled eggs.
Yeah.
But I think if you deep fry, it's easy to eat because running inside, outside like crunchy.
Okay.
Yep. For the oil, we need like a little bit smoke oil, really hot oil, and then we put it in.
I'm getting away from that one.
It's really hot. Yeah. It's like a poached eggs in the hot oil. It's coming like a drop. Like this. Okay, we need 2 of eggs. Yeah, because when you eat, you feel like you have like sourness, saltiness, and sweet, and you have like a running egg, like creamy and crispy outside. For me, it's a little bit good side dish for the spicy curry. Yep. Okay, I set them aside. Okay, take the hot oil. Now we start to do the curry. In Thailand, we have like 2 types of curry. One is no coconut cream.
That's from the north.
Yeah, from the north. Or from the middle too, because we have like a sour orange curry with no coconut cream. And the main curry is we put a lot of coconut cream in the center of Thailand, or some down south. Now we start with the coconut cream, like a thick cream.
Curries without coconut cream essentially spicier?
Not too spicy, because when you cook, they have like a little bit oil, collect oil, because when you eating, they have like a oil cover your tongue. You not make it more spicy.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, now we start with the... And there. Yep.
So you scald the coconut milk?
Yep. A little bit. Now curry paste. The curry paste is like a very special one because it contains like a bird eye chili.
Bird eye chili.
Yeah, spicy. And we put it in.
Spicy.
Yeah.
Even for Prin levels.
Yeah. Bird eye chili, kaffir lamb zest,
Okay.
galangal, lemon
Galangal.
bloods, and we use a spice because this dish they contain the spice like a with a clove,
Okay.
Cumin.
Clove. Cumin.
cloves, cumin,
Yeah.
coriander seeds.
Coriander seeds.
Yep.
Okay. And what's the main difference between galangal and ginger?
Galangal and ginger.
Yeah. They're quite different, or
Different because galangal I did have here, but
can you
galangal-
substitute galangal for ginger?
galangal quite like a robust, hard root.
Okay.
Yep. But ginger is really not hard, but
Okay.
that's really spicy on it. But here is like a we call shampoo ginger.
Shampoo ginger.
Yes, in English, but in Thailand we call klatu.
Okay.
Yes. That we use for some in curry and for the medicine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Medicine.
Yep.
What do you know what its benefits are?
I think it's about like sorry. Make your stomach.
Okay.
You know, it's good for your stomach
Okay.
when you eat and have lots of
Digestion.
gas. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now we fry the paste to cook. Yep. Make it more flavor. I add some more coconut cream a little bit. Yep. Make it lower heat. Okay. Now we start to mince the bird.
Okay.
For this dish, you can use the bird or any games.
Okay.
You know,
Any
'cause-
game.
Yeah. Birds, or anything you can touch, like a chop a little bit, like a roughly. And I use a skin to, I use skin to because I think they contain about fat,
Yeah.
fatty, and game eating on the skin. Okay. Okay, we're chopping a little bit. Now we keep stir a little bit in the curry now. For the method, we're gonna be cook the curry paste to very cook because you know about it. If it's not cooked,
Okay.
it tastes not good.
Okay.
Because by like some bitter ester. Okay, that for them.
So cooking the curry will release the flavors of it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. High heat, keep stirring.
Smells
Okay.
good.
Thank you. Okay, now time to season. Because by this dish, we need like a lot of spicy
Okay.
and strong curry. But normally some curry we put like palm sugar in it.
Yeah.
But this dish not sweet
It's
anymore.
more
'Cause
salty.
yeah, more salty because we have like a sweet fish sauce.
Okay.
Inside. Okay. We fry the chicken with the curry to cook. Okay, I add some more extra chili. Yeah. Into there. Yes. And another thing is like we have like a little bit of a holy basil flower.
Okay.
Yeah. You can smell it. Yep.
So it's
Yeah.
so it's the holy basil. It's a sweeter basil.
The holy basil.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Add some more chili in. Yep. And yeah. Yep. Okay. Now add seasoning with fish sauce. Yes. Yeah. Gonna taste. Should we taste salt in it? Wow. I love it spicy. And put some shampoo ginger in. Yep. To make more flavor, another layer of flavor. And
Another chili.
now chili again. Okay.
But this one's not as hot.
not hot, but
Right.
for the flavor, clean
Yeah.
flavor of chili. Okay. Now we give stir way. Okay. I'll finish with the cream again. Yep. And holy basil. Yep. It's like a little bit dry curry, not like about running curry, right? Yep. Now. Whoa.
Spicy?
No. Okay. Now we put in the bowl. Not spicy.
No.
Yep.
It's good for your
Thank you.
your standards.
Okay, we serve in the
It's
bowl.
really salty.
No. You should be eat with rice.
Whoa.
Rice, yeah. Okay, we put the curry on, and at the end we topping with coconut cream again to make it nice.
And then the eggs on top.
Yep.
Okay.
And for the eggs,
Separate.
yep, little bit. We put the eggs. Sorry, just my hand. Eggs in. Yep. Sweet fish sauce on top. Okay.
Wow.
And we have a garnish a little bit, like a deep fried shallot. Make it crunchy and nutty taste. Yep. And again,
Some chili.
deep fried shallot. Yeah. And yes, a little bit. Where I have, sorry. Like a more garnishing.
Lovely. Wow.
Yeah. And another one, very special, is rice.
Rice.
Yep.
Beautiful.
And, okay, make your, yeah.
Wow. Fantastic.
Yep.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Prin.
Thank you. Thank you.
That was fantastic. Good.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Great. So next we're going to welcome Duangporn Songvisava and her husband Dylan Jones up onto stage. Husband and wife, as I just said, from Bolan in Bangkok, which opened in 2009 and was the first of a new wave of restaurants in Bangkok that offered both a sophisticated, high-end-ish dining experience, but with very authentic, older flavours. It's currently number 37 on Asia's 50 Best list. Bo was the 2013 recipient of Asia's Best Female Chef. She studied cooking in the Australian city of Adelaide and spent a stint in London at David Thompson's Naam, once again, where she met Dylan, who's from the Australian capital, Canberra. Together, they've been instrumental in kickstarting a farmers' market movement in Bangkok, as well as pushing the preservation of original Thai flavours and ingredients, which they also do through a weekly TV show. Bo and Dylan are going to prepare beb takua pa, which they prepared for lunch yesterday, and I probably mispronounced it. It's a rice salad from the southern region of Tekua Pa in Thailand, and dom som, a sour soup with lots of ginger. Okay, please, a warm welcome.
He just ran away. Oh. สวัสดีค่ะ So mornings. Want to say morning? Cool. So today we're gonna cook the rice salad of Takua Pa. We choose this dish to cook it for you today because we think it's really one of the traditional dishes that you can find in southern part of Thailand, not in the restaurant in Thailand. And
it's mixed from the normal rice salad that everybody knows that contains nambudu, which is a type of fermented fish guts, and then they boil it down with sugar, and it contains a lot of herbaceous vegetables, herbs, chili, and then the rice is mixed through, whereas this one is with a cooked curry paste.
Yeah, we come across when we travel down south, and we think it's one of the good dishes that we can do it at the restaurants. So with this one, you will have 3 components. Yesterday when you have it at lunch, we only serve you a shorter versions. But in a real versions, and they have this for breakfast, they will have the rice, salad, the pickle, and the soup, and we're gonna show all 3 now. Yeah. Right, so you're gonna start with your paste.
So as Prin did before, we start with coconut cream and we're cooking it out. With our coconut cream, we want ours to split out a little bit more so it's slightly oilier because you need the oil there later to coat the rice. And our curry paste is a southern style curry paste, which means we're using the small dried mouse shit chilies.
So it's a lot hotter chili.
And then it's got the usual suspects like shallots, garlic, galangal, lemongrass. But this is interesting because it has black pepper.
Yeah, normally black pepper is not used that much in general cooking of Thailand. We use white pepper, but in down south we will use black pepper, a lot of black pepper in the curry paste. So the heat not only come from the small chili, but come from the black pepper. So you got 2 dimensions.
Is the black pepper native to the south?
Yes.
Okay,
in the old days, like maybe 200 years ago, we have a province called Trang.
Yeah.
And that is famous for exporting pepper. So apart from the black pepper in this curry paste, you also have toasted coconut, which widely used in southern part of Thailand as well, and prawn sauce, dry prawn sauce to go into.
What is it? Dried prawn.
Just dried prawn, and then we pile it to make it. Like that?
Yeah.
So the curry paste actually takes about 8 minutes to cook out. So I've got one here that we've already sort of cooked out for you and seasoned with a little bit of palm sugar.
Yeah.
Fish sauce that Prim likes to use. Pardon me. And then we need the herbs.
You need the herbs, okay. So this curry cook until it really dry because we're gonna mix it with the rice. So when we come across the stall who sell this type of like rice salad, they have it in the pot and they have the rice and they ask you to do it yourself. Yeah. But once I opened the pot, I didn't realize it's for the rice salad at all. I thought it's completely another dish.
Wow.
Yeah. It just looked really dry. It looked like kua gling, if you know kua gling.
Yeah.
Kua gling is the dish that you fry the pork or the beef with a curry and you make it really, really dry.
And there was light.
Yeah, you want to show it fine. And once it's cooked and beautiful and seasoned, they traditionally add 3 different leaves.
Okay.
The first one is young ginger leaf.
Yes.
Which we can't find.
Okay.
So when you grow gingers, you have the leaf come up and you just use the center one, the one that's still curl up, not open up yet.
Yeah.
And then we have the mandarin leaf or any citrus fruit leaf will do, but not
mandarin.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's have different fragrance to the curfilams.
Yes.
This curfilams.
Yes.
And the last one, I'll let you do that.
Yod Banbu, which
right.
translates as dog fart leaf.
Dog fart leaf.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did everybody get that?
Yeah. Because when you break the leaf up, the essential oils.
Yes.
It smells like a dog's fart.
But when you mix it into the rice salad, it's fine. Like, it's actually fine. So today, instead of that, we're gonna put a mandarin leaf, kaffir limes, and a little bit of torch gingers to substitute the ginger leaf.
This is the torch ginger.
So once you put that in, you have to turn your heat off and let it cool. So you got the paste done. Now we're gonna do the pickling, which is the accompaniment. As Prin mentioned before, in Thailand we don't eat one thing. We eat like rice with curry, and they have the accompaniments. So this dish is a show off of how Thai people eat, and that how we like to pass on to our clients or other people. Like, just do not order the curry and then top it off your rice.
Sure. And how important is it to have all tastes represented in each meal?
How taste represented?
Yeah, like each. So you have sour, and then you have something sweet, and then you.
I think the taste is really important to represent the sweet, sour, salty, spicy.
Yes.
Stop it. And
it has to be balanced.
But it needs to be balanced.
Yeah, it's. I believe that Thai food is all about the balance of the flavors and of the textures as well. So when we do the rice, when we make this rice to that curry, it's gonna be quite soft. And then you need like the accompaniment that is crunchy and refreshing. So, do you want to do? You can be my slicer.
Sure.
Cut some chili. So this is the mix of the pickle that we're gonna accompany with that rice salad. So if you ever go to Thailand and go to down south, in the morning they will have the fermented noodles.
Okay.
And on the table you have a race of like different vegetables that you can help yourself and eat it with the noodles, because it's really hot, really spicy. So you need something to calm your palate a bit as well. So this is what they have on the table, but we chop it up and then we.
And this is cucumber, or it's.
You got cucumbers.
Yeah.
Green papaya.
Green papaya.
A little bit of pineapple.
Okay.
And then you got pickled mustard green, which come from this one.
Yes.
And then we just brunoise it. And also some pickled radish as well.
Okay.
So even in this dish, you can see the infusions of other cultures within
Chinese.
Thai. Yeah, a lot of Chinese in here as well. But I don't think Chinese gonna eat this hot.
No, no.
And we're gonna season this one with white sugar, fish sauce, and lime juice. So this one have to be light, refreshing, crunchy. And you don't marinate it forever. You marinate it for like half an hour, then you can have it.
Would it start breaking down the crunchiness if more than half an hour?
It does. It's because the water
starts
is out.
wilting,
Yeah. But we can try. So everything is about the balance, the sugar, fish sauce, and sours.
Yes. And then also the textures.
Just stir it in. And with this, when we serve it, we're gonna throw in a little bit of Vietnamese mint. Just to give it a kick. Slip it there. And that's our second part. The third part is the soup. And with the soup, we have this, how do you call this? I call it som khap.
It's an Asian woodruff, I think the English name is.
It's like a fungus, isn't it? Or not?
It's like a big apple when it's fresh.
Oh, it's an apple, and it's been dried and, okay.
Yeah. And it's really sour, so it's so sour that you cannot eat it fresh.
Yeah.
And then they slice it really thinly and dry it, and so you have this. But this also used a lot in Malaysians and Indonesian cooking as well. So in the pot, you have the stock. We throw a little bit of this in. You want to throw a little bit more in?
Sure. Just the thing to remember with the Asian woodruff is the longer it's in there, the more sour it gets.
Okay.
So if you put it in there for half an hour, it's quite sour. After an hour, it's even more sour.
Yeah.
So the pla ching chang.
The pa ching chang.
It's just like a whitebait or an anchovy.
Anchovy. Yeah.
milder than the Italian anchovy?
A lot milder.
Yeah.
This one is even not salty,
Not salty.
at all. And then, and then coffee lime leaf
Yep.
in the pot, and you simmer it until the Asian woodruff infuse the sourness to your soups.
So how long will you infuse it for?
15 minutes,
Okay.
and then you taste the soup.
Yeah.
And if it's getting too sour, just dish
Take
it
it
out.
out, yeah.
Otherwise, it's gonna get crazily sour.
Yeah.
And then with that, we're gonna season it with a little bit of fish sauce again.
Yeah. Also, normally we put morning glory, Thai morning glory
Okay.
in.
But with this one, we put green papaya in. So any local vegetables that quite crunchy can go into that soup. And if you go to different shop, they may have different vegetables. It depends on what grow behind their garden. or
Sure.
house.
Say that.
Yeah, and apart from, as Prin said, we use a lot of sour agents in
Yes.
our cooking. So you have
Tamarind.
tamarind.
Yeah.
You got limes. You got these Asian woodruffs.
Yeah.
This one will need a little bit of tamarind juice as well to give it a little bit plumminess. The different sour agents that we use in Thai food is give different dimension of sours.
Yes.
Yeah, not sourness all the same. So we may use some other sour fruit for other things, like green mangoes and things like that.
Yes, yes.
Right. So you want to make the rice?
Sure.
I don't believe this is your beans. I'm gonna make it in the pot.
In the pot. Yep, I mean.
So with all the leaf that we put in the curry, it's also give another dimension of Thai food that we really focus on the aromas and the fragrance as well.
And
because
the depth of the palate, or
that also. But
Yes.
I think a lot of people this day in Bangkok, when they cook, they don't think too much about the fragrance because they have
Right.
to use fresh ingredients.
Yes.
Like coconut have to be fresh.
and it's not convenient for them. No. Too much work.
Curry paste.
Yes.
Like if you use
Pre-prepared.
processed curry paste, like
Yeah.
industrial curry paste,
Yeah.
or if you make your own curry paste with pestle and mortar, not
Yes.
blender,
Yes.
totally different.
Really?
Yeah, I like you to try like how different.
What's the fundamental difference between them for you?
Well, I think
From the blender to the
mortar and pestle.
Yeah.
But basically, when using a blender, you're using serious knives to cut all the produce.
Yes.
And so what it does is releases all the water.
Yes.
So then when you have a finished product, you've got like a paste and a layer of water.
Okay.
And then when you fry it out, it's actually steaming your paste first. Whereas in
Okay.
a mortar and pestle, it's pounding it all together,
And
becomes
the-
one paste and actually fries out.
Okay,
And
and
then
the
you
water
smell-
retains within that paste.
More so, yeah.
Interesting.
and industrial products is not good because they use salt as the
Okay,
preservative.
of course.
So if you
And
read
MSG.
the label, it's 10% salt. So
Okay.
with 10% salt, you cannot add your fish sauce.
Yes.
You cannot add your shrimp paste. So the depth of the flavor that you mentioned earlier
Yes.
will not occur in your curry.
Okay, okay.
So if you smell this is how Thai food should be. Like
That's
it
really good.
should smell like this. You know.
Thank
Thai
you.
smell. Sorry. So gonna start plating this.
So the reason we chose this dish today is because it is quite traditional
Yes.
and authentic, if you like, but it's also something that's peculiar and unusual for people.
Yes.
So in our restaurant, similar to what Prin does at Nam, is we try to take dishes that are unconventional or that people don't know of and show them that there's more to Thai food than a massaman and a green curry.
Yes, yes.
And it's important to us to do this not only for people who are visiting the country, but also for the local people
Yes.
and our cooks, because we believe that there's a bit of knowledge being lost at the moment within Thailand. So by putting dishes like this on, we're safeguarding Thai food heritage a little bit. And
Yes.
we are sticklers for using traditional methods like mortar and pestle, like fresh coconut cream. And not only does it taste better, but it
Yes.
also safeguards that process for the next generation, which we think is really important.
How much do you think has been lost from the cuisine?
If you Well, more so in Bangkok than anywhere else.
Sure, because it's become sweeter and more less spicy.
Because people don't cook anymore in general. So the wisdoms or the culinary knowledge from the generation to the generation is lost.
Wow.
When the mother go out to make sure that the family have a dual income.
Yes.
Mom stop cooking.
Yes.
So how can
the kids learn?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, like, because I grew up in Bangkok, I will say it's lost a lot because I have a lot to catch up from the book, from the older people's. Like, it's not that for me to learn straight away. Like, I have to fight.
She had to go to London to learn.
Exactly.
And Adelaide.
I thought we were on the same teams.
Yeah.
So that the salad.
That looks beautiful.
We put the eggs in they will have it in for breakfast with the fermented rice noodles.
Yes.
And eggs is actually your choice whether you like it or not.
Okay.
But I think because of the creaminess of the egg yolks and the blandness of the white, it's actually cut down the heat quite well when you have something really spicy. And
it's very soft boiled. Do you do that on purpose?
Yes.
To keep the texture.
It's more unctuous, it's more richer. I think it's nicer.
Yeah.
Yeah, in Thailand they generally cook the shit out of it.
Yeah. So you're putting on here is they're slightly sweet. The white bait.
Yep. This one is candy.
It's
already.
candy.
It's candy with palm sugar.
Okay.
And slightly. When it's candy in Thailand, you also put chili powders in as well.
Yes.
So palm sugar, fish sauce, and chili powders. So it's got a little bit of sweetness front palate, still crunchy. So you have the different textures of different things.
Yes.
In the plate. So that is the khao yam takua pa.
Fantastic.
Bangkok. Yeah.
Congratulations.
And we really encourage people to eat Thai food as Thai do.
Yes.
So you have a lot of different things. You have the main dish, you have the accompaniment and all that. Like this dish will fit into our menu like what we call a single plate.
Yes.
Because you've got everything in one go. And how we struck the menu structure at Bolan is also different as well.
Essentially, as far as the main course is concerned, we serve everything together with rice.
Yes.
And so, like Prin said, you have a salad, soup, curry, stir-fried relish, accompaniment. But before that, we've introduced what we call an amuse-bouche, which Bo coined Röm Rak Röm Rot.
Röm Rak Röm Rot.
And that for us is a way of delaying the process so that we can actually cook the food in time because we cook everything fresh.
Of course,
as opposed to following a Western trend and saying entree, main, dessert.
Yes.
And then, pardon me, we're also introduced the single plate, as Bo mentioned, which is this one, because we want to showcase more of the obscure, interesting dishes that are available in Thailand that people eat sort of every day, but might overlook them or might think that they're a bit mainstream. And they've been simplified over the years, so we're trying to unsimplify them.
Yes. So, and going back to the idea that a lot of this like cuisine knowledge and is getting lost, or the cuisine culture is getting lost. If you go to Isan or up into the north to Chiang Rai or something, do you find that the food is still a lot more intact, or it's also starting to be watered down, I suppose is the word?
It's definitely better than Bangkok, but if you go to up north but you're still in the city of Chiang Mai, it's been watered down as well.
Yes.
But if you go out staying at the homestay, like in the village, that's still quite intact just because they still cook at home.
Yes. Interesting. It's good. Okay, and do you think it's there's a way for it to come back? Is it starting to come back? I mean, there's you guys, there's David Thompson and Nam and Prin, of course. Do you see there's a trend of this?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, well, there's a trend, and there's one of two things. The Thais are going away, learning to cook in places like here or overseas, and then coming back and cooking Western food.
Yes.
And then there's the other trend of some of them coming back and actually cooking Thai food, which is really nice to see.
Yeah.
And also now it's a lot more focus in Bangkok, especially on produce-driven food,
Yes.
which I think is very beneficial to the scene itself.
Yes.
I'd like to see more.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. That's good. Cool. Well, thank you very much. That was fantastic. All right. Please, round of applause.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Lisa. Thank you, Bo, Dylan, and Prin, for this little trip to Thailand. And we are not staying all over Asia, but with presenters who are from the U.S. in part. And to introduce them, I will welcome Cameron Stauch to the stage in a couple of seconds after I've told you everything wonderful about him. Cameron is a chef who lives and works in Hanoi, Vietnam. And in the last 15 years, he's worked in restaurants and hotels in Canada, Hong Kong, India, Japan, and Vietnam. He is currently writing his debut cookbook about the food of Vietnam, which will be published next year. And he travels a lot all over, and he specializes really in global exchange, communication, and translating cultures and cuisines for people who are not familiar with it. So looking forward to hearing him take us through this session on street foods, family style, tasting menus, all the ways in which Asian cuisines happen on our plates, whether it is in Asia or here in the US. Cameron Stauch.
Thank you, Anne, for that wonderful introduction. So one of the great things about Asian cuisines is the variety of styles of eating that they offer. Some vendors offer just one dish on the street. Many restaurants serve dishes family style to share amongst the diners themselves. And some modern restaurants are increasingly adopting the concept of tasting menus to offer to their guests. Today we have three fantastic chefs who each cook different styles of food from casual to more formal. Moderator aside, I actually think we have the not only the most versatile, but also the best looking panel of the conference. They've been extremely successful at adapting the foods and flavors that they've grown up with or learned in the kitchens during their culinary careers, and each have built successful restaurants in different cities serving cuisines that are not native to those cities and countries. So they're here to share their tips with you on how they've been able to do that. So for the first presenter today, we have Matt Abergel. Matt is a Canadian and is a head chef of two of Hong Kong's more exciting restaurants, Yardbird and Ronin. Just under a year ago, he also opened Sunday's Grocery, a liquor store and curated convenience store. Matt's known for his honest, simple dishes that highlight fresh, clean, and straightforward flavors. Throughout his career in Japanese kitchens, Matt has acquired an extensive repertoire of Japanese techniques from neck-to-tail yakitori to izakaya fish and seafood dishes. Had Matt not followed his path in becoming a chef, he would have satisfied his creative energies in becoming an industrial designer. So let's welcome Matt to the stage. I think he's slowly coming out here. See, here's handsome number one. So welcome, Matt.
Is the mic on? Where's the button I press to make that thing move? Here we go. You got it. So I was instructed to introduce myself a little bit. So I'm just going to go through. So I have 3 spots in Hong Kong. I've been there 6 years. It's an amazing city. It's home. And so here, go through that real quick. This one. This one. So this is Yardbird. It's 55 seats. It's in, off the beaten track a little bit, but it's still right in the city. Primarily yakitori, a lot of alcohol. It's an izakaya, so we focus as much on drinking as we do on eating, which I'm sure you all can appreciate. This is the bar. And this is our grill. So this is a custom-made grill from a place in Tokyo called Kamaasa. And Kamaasa is a very old grill maker. So it's a traditional style grill. We cook on both sides. of the grill, so that's it's like an island, and we cook over binchotan charcoal, and the rods you see there are iron, and those kind of act as a seasoning tool as well for the chicken, so we can sear off the meat directly onto the grill as well. This is the tari-cured egg yolks, which you'll see later. This is the second restaurant. This is Ronin. This is named after my son, my 4-year-old son. This is 14 seats, and with a seafood focus. It's the inside. So we go to the market every day in Hong Kong. There's a lot of wet markets in Hong Kong. That's just part of Cantonese culture, and it's been it's a focal point for a lot of parts of Asia, as far as different seafood coming from all over. So Indonesia, the Philippines, the South China Sea, Korea, every day, Japan, all coming through these smaller wet markets. So the first one was a barracuda. This is a tachiuo, is a silver belt fish. These are local mackerel. This is local needlefish. This is a triggerfish. This is a really amazing deep fried, delicious fish. Also called leather jacket fish because you just peel the skin right off. And this is a local crab, flower crab with Hokkaido sea urchin. Then the third thing is Sunday's Grocery, and that's named after my daughter. Her name's Lily Sunday. And this is a departure completely from what we normally were doing before. It's essentially a bodega with really expensive alcohol. So we focus primarily on Japanese whiskey, as we do in Ronin as well. And then sake, shochu, wine, beer, and then sandwiches and fried chicken. It's takeout only, and some of the sandwiches there. Now, onto the chicken. All right, so the chicken we use in Hong Kong is a Longan chicken. So Longan is a triple yellow chicken, they call it. It's yellow skin, yellow fat, and yellow feet. We get our birds from the New Territories, which is kind of the more rural area of Hong Kong, as rural as Hong Kong can get. And so they're killed every morning. 6 in the morning, they're butchered. 9 in the morning, they're in the restaurant, and we start to cut them up. So that's the front, that's the back. We can do a little dance. And then so we have about 10 chefs in the kitchen total. 4 guys are pretty much dedicated just to butcher the chicken. And then so we go from this to this. And this is this is essentially all the different parts that we go into, and then those go into this. So that's the bulk of the menu, is the skewers. Then there's a lot of other dishes as well, but that's generally what we focus on. So yeah, we're gonna basically I'm just gonna. There's not a lot of cooking I can actually do here because we do most of our cooking on the grill, binchotan grill. So we'll be doing that tomorrow, and some today as well, later on in the workshop. What I think, what I have to offer, I guess, more is the butchery of the chicken, how it gets from that to that. So these are fairly similar to what we would use in Hong Kong size-wise. One guy once told me, a chef once told me that 1.6 kilos is the ideal weight for yakitori. I have no idea where he got that number from, but I believed him. So that's kind of what we aim for. So yeah, we're going to start here. So the way we butcher a chicken, I don't know, can you see this? You can see this, right? The way we butcher chicken, or the way Japanese butcher chicken is a little bit different it's very different than the way a Western chef would butcher chicken. Just the direction and things like that. So and obviously what you're trying to get out of it is completely different. So we take off the feet. Actually, it's funny is because everyone in Hong Kong, the only thing we don't get are the feet, because my guy takes them and sells them before I get them, which is fine with me. It's the only thing I don't need the feet. We have enough bones for stock, and he can make a little extra money. So don't need the feet. So the way we go through this bird, move this. We start with the chicken facing us here. And we go through the legs here, just through the skin. Just like that. And you kind of separate it with your hands. Now, the biggest difference between cutting chicken and cutting fish is you're doing a lot of pulling and you know, it's not all knife. It's some hands, some knife. So you kind of loosen that up there a little bit. Now, there's two bones here. It's like kind of the end of the hip, or just like the closest part to the tail. And you're going to get your knife right in on there, so you can see that bone right there, right? And then do the same thing on the other side. And then you just pop the joints on both sides. Now, depending on if you're left-handed or right-handed, obviously, that this is the direction you're going to go is different. But so I flip it over this way. Now, the first and most important skewer, the first one to sell out every night, is the chicken oyster. So the chicken oyster is this right here in the hip, the back hip. So we're going to go here, and see, it's just really, it's half pulling, half cutting. And we're going to just the tip here of the knife is going to go in, and I'm using my thumb and kind of get it out there. So you see this kind of, this pulling and cutting method, you know, right along the bone, and you're going to get the most amount of yield. So that right there is the oyster. Okay? Where's this plate? So then we went from that's the top side of the leg, and now for the other leg, I go from the back side. A lot of Japanese butchery is all about moving the animal as little as possible to create as little damage as possible, and temperature sensitivity and things like that. So now we're going from the back side, same, just right along the bone here, and now we're going to see this is the joint that we popped, and then you're going to go in and from the other side of the oyster now, and it's really half pulling and half cutting. So that's the other side. So you got the oyster there on the other side. Then we go through the back side of the wing here, and that to get into the breast, and then also it will separate the fillet. So here, if you're holding the chicken, so it's quite flexed, I guess the drumstick, the drumette here is flexed, and you're going to go through, and it's going to automatically kind of lift. There's a tendon that goes there, and you're going to go just behind that bone right there, and you see just flexing, and then like that. Don't cut up too much here because you'll cut into the top of the breast. And then we're just cutting here along this line, using that as your guide to get into the breast. So then, using your hand, your finger, and just along there's that breastbone there, the outer breast, and you're just pulling and cutting. So what you're left with is, the breast here, right? Attached to the wing. Now I'll show you in a second why we keep it attached, why I do this first, and I don't cut off the wing first and then the breast. And then what you have here, this is the fillet, or the fillet, the inner breast, I guess. And this just scoring on the outside, and you need to cut through this one tendon right here. There's a tendon attaching it to that tendon right there, and you just barely scoring it all the way to the tip of the breastbone, and literally just pulling it out, and it'll should come out nice and clean. Okay? So that's the inside there. And then, again, same thing on the other side. And then you use that as your guide. And you'll start to understand that these birds got slightly bigger breasts than Hong Kong birds. Insert joke there. And the same thing. So again, it often is just turning and going from the opposite angle. So whereas I started on the fillet on the other side, now I'm starting from the bottom instead of the top. And that's, again, just because that's the natural way that you would handle the chicken, and so you don't have to move it around too much, and that's kind of the goal. Okay? So, get the breast here. We're going to go through that. Now, the next thing, chop off the head. And what we'll do here is take this. So this right here, this is the rib. We call this the rib. It's not really the rib. It's the skin in between the rib. But on the menu it says rib because there's no other better doesn't sound so good. The piece between the meat, the rib, or whatever. So it just says rib. So we take this, and this has an amazing, amazing texture. Really chewy and just like full of flavor. So we trim that off, and that's going to become about 5 of those go to 1 skewer. So it takes 2.5 birds for 1 skewer. And that's kind of the menu, how everything goes. So, we start every day 50 chickens. Every day they sell out. At the end of the day, we start again. We don't have a walk-in refrigerator. We just have drawers. And so, just start fresh every day. It helps us to stay busy early on, which was a bit of a... people in Hong Kong don't eat that early normally. So we're going to take this part here. This is the soft breastbone. Okay? This is going to go into our meatballs that we're going to talk about in a second. This is a very traditional thing to put into meatballs. Also can deep fry it. It's delicious. You can grill it just like that. Also delicious. You can do whatever you want. So you're going to take the skin off the neck. I don't use the neck skin. I render it. We use it schmaltz. I'm actually Jewish, so we learn. We use a lot of schmaltz in the kitchen. We put it on toast. We use it to cook rice. All kinds of things. So what I'm doing now is going to just take off the rib cage here. And the reason I do that is because I want it to lay flat when I take off the neck meat. So this right here is the shoulder. It's sometimes called the back oyster also. It's really flavorful, delicious part here. And that's also going to go into our meatballs, which we'll talk about in a second. So just take off that back. Just above there's a bone on there. And that's another thing too, though. If you want it, you could also take this off with the bone and fry that up like a chicken wing, and it's really good. But we're going to use this for the meatball, and that's what we're going to talk about in a second. So then another delicious and underutilized part of the chicken is the neck. And this is obviously a bit of a finicky thing to get off, but you just run your knife, and again, this is about the pulling. So you run your knife here, and you're kind of pulling. It's like filleting like a piece of fish, essentially. There's not usually very much meat on here, just kind of like a little tiny bit at the end on the bottom side of the neck. And then that's what you can get off of that. So again, 1 skewer is probably 2.5 chickens worth, maybe 3 for a neck. It's a very popular skewer, quite delicious. Then got the Pope's nose, tail, another delicious skewer. And this back fat here, this is the best for rendering. This back fat is really the best part. And so my chicken that I use in Hong Kong are super yellow, like really, really, like there's no white fat at all, pure yellow fat, beautiful yellow fat. All right, so that's what we're left with. And then one of the recipes, what we're going to go through also is the tare. So we use this obviously for the tare, for soup. We make a lot of soup every day. We eat a lot of soup for family meal. We use, we have 50 carcasses a day. We try not to throw anything away, so we make a lot of soup.
So you would say that yakitori is obviously a very efficient use of the animal.
Yeah.
And you've said that chicken's an egalitarian animal.
Yes.
And which is one of the reasons why you wanted to follow this. So can you, as you're getting the meatball together,
Yep.
Can you just mention how you've been able to get Hong Kongers, because you're not naturally from there, to adopt this style of eating? I
mean, I'm lucky. Hong Kong is for Japanese food, it's a really lucky place to be, because unlike maybe, let's say, here, not everyone's been to Tokyo or to Japan, but more likely than not, if you can afford to eat in the restaurant, you've probably been to Tokyo. It's it's a 3-hour flight. There's like 45 flights a day. So generally speaking, the frame of reference is really strong. It would be like comparing the state of Mexican food in California to, so it's a very knowledgeable culture. So I'm going to just take off this with a little bit of the breast meat as well. The breast is actually the least popular thing in Asia in general. It's the cheapest. It's not, and it's not really, no one really cares for it. I'm kind of on their side. It's best if it's a little bit rare. So people here can get freaked out by that, but it's okay. So got the wing. We pull off this little piece of skin right here with the other wing, because we cut this off, and that becomes one of the skewers. That right there, that little triangle, I'll show you. That piece is 6 of those go on a skewer, and that's our skin. Really even cooking. I always found like skin in yakitori restaurants, often it's uneven, causes a lot of fires on the grill, and so we narrowed it down to this one piece of skin.
So you're going to be doing a session this afternoon, is it, for finishing the butchering?
Yeah, we're going to skewer this afternoon. We're going to actually skewer and cook.
Okay. So
yeah.
if you're interested in this, look for that. And then what do we do with the meatball, Matt?
We're going to go to the meatball right now.
Super.
All right. So we got the drumstick here. Okay. We're going to take off the meat from the drumsticks. Now this, probably the same chef told me that the ideal size of a bird is 1.6 kilos. Also told me that a good yakitori restaurant is judged by the tsukune, the meatball. So this took us a long time to finally get the right proportions and that we're happy with, and it's turned out to be really popular and gets good feedback. So we take off this meat here, and this has a lot of collagen inside. It has a lot of connective tissue, skin, obviously, and then you have a nice balance with some of the breast meat as well, and little tiny bit of the cartilage as well on the end there. So that part of the drumstick, that part of the drumstick, that shoulder part that I told you about before, all gets frozen for about 40 minutes, just put in the freezer for about 40 minutes, and then gets double ground, I guess would be the word. And the reason for that is it kind of emulsifies the fat. There's a lot of fat in here. If you don't freeze your machine and this being really chilled, it will totally stodge up your machine. Is that how much time I have?
Yes.
Shit. Okay. Okay, real quick. So we double grind this. And then we hand chop the breastbone. This into tiny little pieces. Mix it in here. And we use fresh breadcrumbs. So fresh panko, not dry panko. Reason being is it's a much nicer texture, and it keeps it kind of pillowy. So that goes inside all the recipes you have. This is chopped white onion that's been rinsed for about a half an hour. Sorry about the drought. I apologize, but I did use 30 minutes worth of water, and then squeezed until it's completely dry. And the reason for that is because when you put it inside of a meatball and you're cooking it, it doesn't leach water, and also it has a very individual texture and taste inside of the meatball. So it's not like the onion is just mixed in. It's actually, you can actually taste each individual piece of onion, and it gives a tiny bit of texture, crunch, like it's a nice little crunch.
And what would you say is like the key thing when you're assembling or cooking the sukune? What would you say?
Mixing. So once you've mixed all this stuff, you add salt, so the salt measurement, and you put it on an ice bath underneath, and you vigorously mix it. My chefs mix it until their arms hurt. That's kind of like, it's done when your arm hurts. And what that does, it activates all the protein and sticks the meat all together. I'm sorry I ran out of time.
So if you've got, I think the key with Matt is we're going to see some more butchery later with him, but making your ingredients cold, getting those guys to mix, and if you've got any questions about the cooking of it, just see him at his session later.
Yeah,
so thank you to Matt. Thank you very much.
All right, look at
So there's an old saying that behind every great man is a great woman. Well, behind every great restaurant in Seattle, you'll find Rachel Yang. Rachel and her co-chef and husband, Sif, operate 3 restaurants, Jewel, Revel, and Trove, that have made a major contribution to Seattle's dining scene. Rachel has been successful at designing restaurants and menus that incorporate Korean and Asian ingredients, using European cooking techniques and presenting them in a manner that engages and appeals to so many different types of diners. So it's understandable why Rachel was recently nominated as a James Beard Award nominee in the category of Best Northwest Chef. Please welcome Rachel to the stage.
Well, welcome, and thank you so much for joining us. I know you guys have been sitting out for a long time, so I don't want to try to make this as entertaining as possible, hopefully. We're going to do a lot of little demos and cookings, but there are two things that we want to really talk about in this session, because this whole thing is about, like, how do Asians eat? Like, what is it about Asian culture that loves food so much that what makes it so exciting and different? And Koreans, we like to say we know the best how to eat food. How many of you guys have been to the Korean barbecue restaurants? Oh, wow, that's awesome. I see like more than half the rooms here who love the Korean barbecue. And the pictures like you see, what it means to do a Korean barbecue, it is literally a gathering of friends and family, and not being a passive eater, not being like sitting down and just waiting for someone to pass you all the stuff, and then just using your fork and knife, being all very careful about how you eat and all that stuff. It's nothing like that. Korean barbecues is all about, what would you say, James?
Well, I would say that it's all about communal sharing, maybe some double dipping, would you say?
Oh, totally. You gotta have really your friends and family who are in good health. We will be doing a lot of double dipping. You'll see those. There's probably a reason why all those Korean soups and jigaes and all those stuff is really boiling hot, to kill all the bacteria when you're double dipping, all that stuff.
Would you say some shoving to kind of get stuff from the table?
That's why you use chopsticks. So like, just make sure that you're just picking your own stuff. Don't touch everything else. But it's all about having a banchan, which is all about those small plates you have. That just makes your meal so plentiful and so amazing. And Korean barbecue is kind of really the quintessential of what the Korean dining is all about, because it is all about sharing, interactive eating. You are a diner at the same time you are a cook. And that's what, I think my job is the best, because I get to cook all this fun stuff. And this is your chance to, be in the spotlight, do the cooking. And we have a restaurant in Seattle. We just opened about 6 months ago, called Trove. And it has a tabletop grills. And we always have in our dining room, we'll have this a dad in this party will be like, okay, I got the grill, I'm in charge, and it's really fun. I have a 3-year-old and 4-year-old, 2 boys, and they are the ones who will be up and close with the grill, with their tongues, flipping over the meat, and then telling us how we should eat. And that's just the best thing about our barbecue.
So the real cooks come out when they're doing Korean barbecue.
Oh,
yeah. The natural instincts come out.
Exactly. It's the grill. People get really a little bit scared of it at first, because they don't know. Okay, I don't know how to cook this meat. You got all sorts of different meat. We have anything from, we do somewhat of a untraditional cuts. We do a pork short ribs, we have kopa, we have beef bellies, we have all sorts of different things. Everyone's like, oh gosh, got all different things. I don't really cook at home. What am I supposed to do? Relax. Our grill is not like super, super hot. They're all marinated and seasoned perfectly. You just can know how to flip. And if you're not too scared of eating slightly pink pork, you're all set to go.
So what should we start with today?
We're going to start with a couple of different meat that we have. The best thing about the Korean, a lot of Asian stuff, is that we get to use this super inexpensive, cuts of meats. Everyone wants to have a restaurant where their food cost is, below 30%, and the best way to really do it is, cut down your protein cost. We got some kopa, which is really kind of fancy part of, shoulder, which has the best part. It's kind of this round thing that has sort of star-shaped fat in the middle. It has the perfect amount of marbling and a little bit of layer of fat that makes it perfect for barbecues. We got some pork short rib. It is the same as the beef short rib, like the 1, 2, 3 bones of the pork. And we got some pork chicks. All these cuts are obviously very inexpensive. At the same time, they are tons of flavors. And the way we Koreans do is that we have all these awesome marinades that we use for making this. So,
and you use other types of meats as well, or just pork?
We do predominantly pork and beef. Those are the two things that we mainly go for. And even beef too, there's ton of different things that we do have these different flavors. Like for pork, and our flavor is all about having this sort of unconventional kind of thing. At the same time, having a flavor that people relate to easily. So for pork short rib, we'll be using a some mustard, and some red miso. And also a little bit of sweetness gets from the maple syrup, and some oil. Whenever you're making marinade, just think about your backyard barbecue. It's really simple. There are three things that you want to kind of think about. Is the salt, and some sort of ingredient that they'll break down the protein, and also some oil and sugar. So basically, as long as you have some oil, it depends on what kind of cut you have. If you have fatty cut, you might not need as much. If you have a really lean cut, you want to make sure it's well lubed up, otherwise it's going to stick. Sugar. There's no barbecue that's complete without having that awesome caramelized, crusty outside. So sugar is super important, and then some sort of salt to kind of season your meat. Obviously, people will always ask you, okay, how long do you season it for? It's very, very flexible. If you have a big chunk of steak, let it go for overnight. If you have a tiny little thin slices, you can have your dinner within 2 hours, kind of thing. So once your marinade is made, we'll basically.
And you do these marinades beforehand and before they go out to the
exactly.
diners
These have been already marinated, and then they're really easy to kind of rub and all that stuff. So you can cut your meat, take the bone off of the pork short rib. We'll slice them about 1/2 inch thickness, and you can basically either dip it and rub it, or you can just kind of brush it, whatever ways you want to do. So it's really easy to do it that way. And next thing that we'll do is have some pork cheeks. So for pork cheeks, what we have is pork cheeks is notorious for having lots of sinews, lots of skins, and all that stuff. You just want to clean the outside silver skin, and then after it's cleaned up, we're just going to mix it with some. Here you go. This is the sake leaves. Sake leaves is basically the byproduct of making, after you make sake, it's all that wonderful East tea, kind of sweet kind of flavor that is great in kind of softening of the muscles. And we are going to, and after that you can blend your little garlic, little ginger, little lemongrass with some mirin, fish sauce, and oil, and then you're going to mix everything up and make a little paste, and we're going to kind of marinate our pork cheeks with that. And this is one of our favorite barbecue that we do. It's the Korean chili paste-based barbecue. Everyone, here you go. It is like the best flavor kind of you will ever have. If you like anything spicy, like this is very kind of traditional ones that you'll see in Korean restaurant. It's called 돼지 불고기, which is always made with the chili paste, sugar, and we put some garlic and ginger. Here's some fish sauce, oil, vinegar, and sake, and a little bit of mirin. That kind of you put everything together. It becomes really kind of luscious kind of paste like this. And then we will do a pork kopa and do the same thing, kind of just slice them about 1/2 inch. And if you have a grill that's kind of small, you want to have a quick, fast kind of eating thing, you can always cut it thinner and smaller pieces, and then they can be rubbed into the sauce as well. And then all this are going to grill them really fast here. So, 1 second. May I get those 2 trays? Thank you. Just the one on the table, please. Right, no, on the table. Thank you. So the one thing with the Korean barbecue is that we have slathered everything with awesome sugariness that we want to cook. It's always best to use the grill. Most often because of the pan-wise, if you were to kind of try to sear them, it would burn.
So how do you pass this on to the diner if they're cooking it? You're doing the marinade. How do you get your servers to explain to them?
So servers would they will get a plate of of all the meat like this, and then the servers will kind of tell them to start with your fattier cuts. We always let them start with the pork belly and beef belly. So that would kind of lubricate the pan as they cook, and then make sure they do not pile on your bellies, and all the bellies in one spot because they can flare up. But at the same time, after those are cooked, and then you can go on to a little bit sugarier marinated ones, and it's really easy. So start with the fattier cuts, start with the unmarinated, and then move into the sugary marinated ones, and you're good to go.
And is our grill good to go? It's nice and hot?
Grill is good to go. I just want you to. So the reason why I know that you guys don't get to eat everything, but I want you to like hear and smell this because it's going to just kind of make you get all hungry. Sorry.
So do you also kind of do this to your diners where you kind of, cheat them with no food while they're cooking so that their stomachs are salivating? Like, do you throw something on the table beforehand for them to munch on, or?
Yeah, no. So this is where you get our whole banchan stuff, basically. So when you order your salmon, it's typically we sell them. We give them a few different dipping sauces to use, and as well as a plate of lettuce. So it's kind of like this is one of the most healthy, fun eating because you get to really. Everything is grilled, so it's really easy and simple. The flavor is robust. And then you have all these different dips you can dip your meat in, and then you get to wrap it up and eat it. So it's just a really fun way of doing it. And the panchan is one of those things that we do a lot in different really fun ways. We don't do traditional kill your table kind of crazy panchans, but we decided to kind of put a definition on the banchan that we serve. So we kind of think that the banchan is really it has to be, there's a difference between banchan and the small plate. Basically, how we define banchan is that it's something that's salty, something that's pickly, something that's fermented, something that you really want to eat with other stuff. That's how we define banchan. Because, we are a restaurant, everyone who's been to Korean restaurant are somewhat spoiled getting all those free banchans, free everything. And we, as a restaurant who are spending as much time and as much energy and as much money and ingredient into making all those small dishes, cannot really afford to send everything to be free. So we make sure that those banchans we sold them in a small, a set of 3s, but they are all very interesting and different. And then they have a really great, they are really meant to be eaten with something else because they are salty, they are preserved, they are pickly, they are spicy.
Now, your restaurant group has an interesting way of putting unfamiliar foods or ingredients onto the menu where, you'll have 3 or 4 ingredients that are familiar and then one that isn't. Can you explain why you do that?
Yeah. Well, so our food is all about kind of doing some sort of fusion food. We don't do straightforward Korean food. We don't do straightforward American food. However, we are not kind of restaurant where we write everything in Korean and just sell it as Korean dish either. So we always do, let's say we have this yesterday. I don't know how many of you guys passed through the reception area. I had a smoked tofu dish with a hanshimeji mushroom confit and a truffle vinaigrette. And hanshimeji, for a lot of people who are not in the industry, do not know what those things are. It always makes my sister kind of crazy. My sister is a lawyer. She eats out, all the time with her clients. And she's like, I think I'm a great diner, but when I come to your restaurant, I don't know anything about anything that's on the menu. And she's like I'm not stupid, but why don't I know all these things? So what we try to do is, when you're a chef, you try to be someone who you're trying to, you want to be creating something that's really fun. So it's like you're impressing your, colleagues and your chefs. At the same time, you need to be relatable to your guests. So we always try to have a menu that is at least 3 parts, or at least 3 out of 4 parts that is very, very familiar, very, very easy ingredients. And always try to put one thing that's completely, different, unique, and people will be like, oh, what does that mean? What is it? So that people will be can really ask questions. And that's a really great thing. We want people to ask questions because that creates a conversation between you and your servers. And that's how they will really understand the behind stories. Things they might not think that they would want to order. They'll be like, oh, after hearing all these things about it, I really want to try it. So I think that's really kind of cool part about it.
And so you have some education with your servers then to be able to explain that to you.
Exactly.
You can't rush out of the kitchen and
you don't want a menu to be completely explanatory either. You don't want to be completely a foreign language that people have to use a dictionary. You want it to have a really right balance where people are intrigued enough to ask questions. Our last, but not the least thing will be doing a kimchi. So this is kind of kimchi that I know that everyone here probably had kimchi before in one way or the other. But kimchi is something that we make our traditional red napa kimchi, but we never actually serve that kimchi in the restaurant. It's always used in making something else. We make like pork dumplings with kimchi and stuff like that. We have pork pancakes with kimchi, but the actual kimchi that we serve that goes in our banchan is always something completely different. So today we have a chayote kimchi that we're making. It is made with chayote, which is kind of like a melon, cucumber kind of family. So the texture-wise, it's actually very, very comparable to your cucumber kimchi or daikon kimchi. It's actually oftentimes, I think that it's like, perfect combination of the both two, because you get the sweetness, at the same time you get the crunchiness of daikon as well. So the kimchi here, what we're doing is we're also going to do a white kimchi.
I think if you go to Rachel's restaurant, you can have her come out and cook this for you, because this is looking pretty good.
Talking and cooking same time, it's perfect. So we got some chayotes here. We're going to cut it into little dice. And then we are going to use all these awesome ingredients. And you can think that our kimchi is never always, doesn't have to be always red. So we do white kimchi. It's basically using the same ingredients like onions, pear, ginger, garlic. We always use two types of fish sauce. It's salmon sauce and anchovy sauce, and we have to use the salted shrimp, which is really, really crucial. And then a little bit of vinegar. Only the reason why we use a little bit of vinegar for the white kimchi, not to kind of make it acidic. It's gonna get tart by itself by sitting and fermenting. It's because our things like Asian pear would oxidize if there's no kind of preservatives in there. So vinegar is there to kind of make it into a perfect sauce. And so after you blend everything in, this is kind of puree you get. And there are two things that are really important about kimchi is that, one is salting. Salting is kind of basics of any kind of pickling that you do. Well, you will just kind of keep the moisture level perfect, that it's not going to grow let the environment to be prone to growing any bad bacteria. So you will have a great lactic acid just blooming in there. The kimchi, so we're going to cut it into small dice. And after it's cut into small dice, it gets salted with Korean sea salt. This is Korean sea salt that we use for making kimchi, for preserving any kind of vegetables and pickles. We love using the big salt like this because, with the regular kosher salt or table salt, the vegetable doesn't know how to stop absorbing all the salt. It will just kind of get really salty really fast. With the big salt, it melts really slow. It's a lot slower. So that way, vegetable would kind of absorb all the salt and then let out all the water. But it's going to kind of stop by itself when it doesn't get too salty.
So what are we looking for the finished product? What are you?
When you're looking for finished product, it's basically you want to kind of touch your vegetables, whether it's napa or whenever it's cucumber or like in this case chayote. It's going to get slightly soft. At the same time, the best thing when you are looking for anything is that you taste your vegetables. Once you taste it, you know exactly what you're looking for because it's going to taste seasoned. It's not going to taste salty. It's not going to taste raw. It's just going to taste seasoned for you. That's what you're looking for. And once that is seasoned, and you're basically going to make sure if you have excess salt, rinse it, drain it really well. If you don't, you can just still drain it. We usually drain it over a perforated hotel pan, press something overnight, and then afterwards you can just mix it with your kimchi base that we make. And here, in order to make it kind of fun, that we decide to add heat by using some habanero. So here it's this is how we always try to think in our head. When you're making something that's chayote, it's very Latin American, very Southeast Asian. We want to really kind of bring a heat that works in that sense, in the context. We don't want to just kind of throw in red kimchi in there and then call it our own. We want to kind of bring in a different kind of floral heat that works really well. So you can just mix your habaneros. Here I really want to control my heat, so I just kind of julienne it, and then this is just basically pickled slightly. So you're not worrying about habanero totally overpowering your dish at all.
So as you're just mixing that up, just to finish up, And before we get James on the stage, what's the ideal number of people to go to a Korean barbecue?
Korean barbecue. So I would say you cannot be too many because you got to have your meat. So for a regular size of grill that you get on Korean barbecue, I feel about 6 is really good number.
Okay.
So you have everyone has a chance to eat everything and cook everything. So we have at our restaurant, we sell this giant meat tower called Baller Tower for $100, and people.
Super. Well, thank you for today, Rachel.
Thank you.
So thank you very much. So remember, 4 to 6 is the number that you want to go with. So last but not least is James Syhabout. James is what you would call a restaurant kid. Much of his childhood was spent in his mother's Thai restaurant. So on weekends, while other kids were taking music and swimming lessons, James was helping out his parents, peeling garlic, picking, stemming chilies. James is one of Oakland's most creative chefs, and he's at the helm of the East Bay's only Michelin star restaurant called Komi, the more casual of the Dock, and the Thai-inspired Hawker Fare, in which he recently opened a second location in San Francisco. If James, we were talking, and if he hadn't ended up cooking, he still would have been cooking some type of beats, but it would be music. So he would have been a music producer. So welcome James to the stage.
Thank you for having me. Is this on? Yeah, it's good. So how does this work?
Just
forward?
Right.
Okay, got it. Cool. Today, my demo is really, it's all about familiarity, getting people comfortable. And the question that was raised in this discussion is, how do we make the food approachable, but yet keeping the soul intact? As a chef, we are stubborn creatures. You know, we want to cook what we want to cook and serve it that way, not dilute it at all, and say, oh, the customers don't understand, they don't get it, but it's good, but who cares? But, you know, the reality is chefs need audiences. That's something I fight with for the longest. Actually, I can do this. From Komi, from fine dining, but, you know, even in fine dining, we need an audience. All chefs need audience. And where do you compromise? And what angles do you take to make that happen? So today I'm touch a part of, I came from 2 schools. So I've been in haute cuisine pretty much for 2 decades of my lifetime. From, you know, Manresa to El Bulli, the Fat Duck, but growing up in a Thai household and Laotian household cooking, you know, really simple food. It was totally, you know, it was black and white, you know, and when I opened Hawker Fare, which used to be my mother's restaurant in 2011, I was in for a whirlwind. Went from tweezers to picking herbs, foraging, to using mortar and pestles, and no Paco jets, no thermal mixes, no hydrocolloids. It took me a while to figure it out, and I was going at it the wrong way. My mother corrected me. You know, she would come to my kitchen. First thing she would do at Komi was go to the trash can. She'd pick up, you know, sprigs of cilantro and bare, no leaves. Like, why is that in the trash? You know, how are you gonna make money? You know, that's the best part of the cilantro.
I put you through school with those stems.
Yeah, exactly. So we're going to talk about more familiarity and the differences I've noticed coming from the 2 different schools, from, you know, haute cuisine and like French training to cooking, just home cooking and Thai food. So to demonstrate what I talk about, like familiarity and feeling comfortable, I'm going to demonstrate chicken soup. You know, every culture has chicken soup. You know, the Western way of doing chicken soup is big mirepoix. Your bouquet garni consists of thyme, really no spices, maybe a little bit of black pepper. But it's a dish at Hawker Fare we make called tom sap. It's a dish that I grew up on. It was always made, it's 1 pot, always made for at least, you know, tastes better the 3rd day. I'll come home, warm some up, and that was my dinner with my parents around. So this chicken soup is very interesting. You know, in the Western world, and at Komi, when we butcher, no bones go on the plate, really. But start cooking Thai food, like the bone's the best part. I'm kind of speeding up the demo a little bit for having our water somewhat already hot. So like usually we make soups in home cuisine and French cooking. You make a stock, and then you go on and make your soup. But I started doing that way when I started cooking a hawk affair, and I noticed I was doing it all incorrect. I was skimming the stock, making sure it's really clarified, all the impurities, So this is chicken. So during my childhood, my mother used to buy chickens at the Asian markets, hens. They're really, really tough. Just trying to, so what we do, we use like really yellow fat, very lean, heads on, feet on. So we use guinea hens. It's the closest things we could find. Heads and all, bones. The marrow, which is like the best part of the chicken. We think of marrow, we usually skim that off in soups and stocks because it clouds your soup, but that's protein, that's flavor. And making the soup, I remember making it for the first time for my mother, which is like scary. I was skimming it. I was skimming it. It was so clear. I was so proud. It's like, Mom's like, I made consomme. This is like the best tom sap ever. And she looked at it. She's like, you screwed up. I was like, why? It's like, one, your yield sucks because you skimmed everything away. And two, there's no flavor. There's no depth. And then it kind of made me think. I was like, what? She's right. And with me thinking in my scientific mind, what's flavor? It's fat and protein. And why do you want to skim that out? Just let it boil into the soup. Going back to soup here, like that, going by aromatics, we have galanga. It's in the same family as ginger. It's a rhizome. But ginger is definitely not a substitute.
How would you describe the flavor for someone who hasn't had it before?
It's more woody. It can be digested only if it's minced or grind up really, really fine. But aromatics, it's woodier, earthier, more pungent, less sweet. So this can go in part of our bouquet garni. This is very much not such thing as mirepoix in the soup at all. It's all about aromatics. Galanga, we have kaffir lime leaves, which I would just go in.
Why can't you just throw them in? What's the tearing doing?
The tearing, and sometimes I would rub the leaves, is to release the essential oils. If you just throw them in, the whole leaf is sealed. There's no flavor transfer or aroma transfers in it. And this dish is supposed to be very, very rustic looking. And also, like, I'm learning to cook by cooking Thai food. I'm learning to cook by instinct. I was so used to using gram scales, calculators, and refractometers and all like that. But it's just much more soulful way of cooking. So actually, cooking Thai food has balanced me out a little bit. Going back to Komi, more bouquet garni. We have shallots. Just gonna peel and throw in. We have green onion whites as well. As I grow older, I'm a father too. I like to keep things more and more simple, and more simple. And I want people to understand me a little bit more. And maybe that's the evolution of a chef. Knowing himself, knowing and being comfortable with him. Lemongrass. And I just chose this dish because it's just such a metaphor of what people's comfort zones are. Lemongrass is very important. The outer side of the lemongrass that's kind of dried up. I peel that away. All the essential oils and moisture is completely gone. I would give it a little bit of bruise. I would use the back of my knife. Just trying to crush a little bit.
So you're talking about the comfort zone of customers and stuff. You like to give an experience to somebody that is comfortable when they arrive in your restaurants, but you also like to kind of push them a little bit to the edge.
Yes.
So how do you do that in your restaurants?
You know, and I think I'm starting to understand more and more about hospitality and the true definition of hospitality. What it means is, it's like welcome someone into your home. How do you make them feel comfortable? How do you make them trust you? How do you make them become vulnerable to you as a chef? And that's kind of stems from a lot of things, you know, from the way we write our menus, the way we train our servers to explain ingredients, a little bit of hand-holding, so on and so forth.
It's also, you're saying, like through the decor, as you're putting in the other aromatics, through the decor you will put up something that they recognize, like a poster from a movie.
Exactly.
But it'll be all in Thai.
Yeah.
Or from someplace in Asia.
Going back to like the stubbornness of chefs, you know, we always want to put our best work out and not dilute or anything or play down off of it. And food is just the secondary. That's the product they get to experience. But there's other things that accomplish that. And with Hawker Fare, I wanted to pretty much mimic my childhood experience of Thailand. This is in the east, in Duangporn, Ratchathani, which where I was born, very close to Laos. And like, how do I mimic like the lighting, like that night market feel? This is the market. How do I mimic the sounds, the smells, and really take them on a journey and a trip, not just through food, but take them there to a place like the terroir of the concept. Some more baskets, colors. The bird cages we use for light fixtures that, you know, thought was a cool idea. A little architect. I interior designed the restaurant myself. And I figured it was the only fair way to really translate my intentions of the food, you know, through design as well, not just what's going on in the kitchen. These mats, I grew up eating on these mats, you know, sitting down cross-legged on the floor with a whole entire spread, double dipping, eating with our hands. So these are the things that you see that's kind of parallel to what my experiences are traveling and growing up. And this is the interior of Hawker Fare, San Francisco. You know, the oilcloths, the bright colors, the pastels. So customers' perception walking into the place, it's like, wow, I feel like I'm on vacation.
Well, and they might recognize like a Johnny Cash tune sung in Vietnamese or Thai.
Exactly. So coming in for them, yeah, how do you make them more comfortable once they sit down at the menu? Our menu is written in a way, there's no Thai script at all on the menu at all, but we, like the word tom sap, like the soup itself it's the phonetic pronunciation in English on the menu, but explained in English terms. There'll be aromatic, spicy chicken soup with sawtooth herbs, cilantro, and kaffir lime leaves. So we're giving them, as a chef, I'm giving them what I want to give them, but I'm also making it comfortable for them to really understand it and willing to try it. That's an overall goal. And it extends to more aspects of being comfortable, you know, a really wide bar. You know, we have the feel of a watershed or my family's home with the corrugated rusted metal steel. And we serve tiki drinks, you know, and we were thinking about, my whole idea was like, okay, we're going on vacation. We're going to Thailand, or wherever we might go. It's like, what do people understand? What people like? It's like tiki drinks. And lo and behold, it goes well with Thai food, you know, with the tropical flavors and high acid. So we just kind of play along with that mantra a little bit more and more and more, get into depth. And then we just talk about, okay, you know, I grew up in Oakland and pop culture was a big thing for me. You know, that's, I think, why things becomes popular, because people's comfort zones. So thinking more and more like, what can we do visually to promote this? Is I received these really cool movie posters, Pulp Fiction, Star Wars, and Back to the Future, but they're all original posters from Thailand, you know. And you see Pulp Fiction and you think, Royale with cheese. And, everyone's seen, these are all very popular movies. So you walk in, you get a sense of comfort, like, oh, okay. But it's new. I've never seen a Pulp Fiction poster in Thai.
And one of the things that you have is that sometimes is a challenge for the diners is that the food comes out when it's ready.
Yes.
So
going on to the service aspect of the restaurant, on top of our menu, we put a disclaimer or kind of explaining ourselves in a paragraph saying, we're welcome to Hakka Fair. This experience is kind of mimic my childhood where dishes are sent out as a mosaic. There's no coursing. You might get a grilled dish before your soup, or you might get a curry before your salad, and that's okay, and that's what we eat. But, for us as Westerners and coming from Western cuisine, you're like, oh, no, we gotta have soup first, or we gotta have salad first. So it's like, how do we break that mold? And I think that it's for us to hold their hand, also educate, and make them feel that we're trusted. And that goes through like the steps of service. Every server is trained to explain ingredients, give them an encyclopedia. What's galanga? And put it in layman's terms for them. Like flavor profiles and whatnot. And it's be up for it. And surprisingly enough, we serve about 200 diners a night at Hakka Fair, and I think we're doing a really good job at explaining ourselves and making guests feel comfortable because we've never had a kickback. Maybe one or two since 2 months, and we're doing 200, maybe 1,000 people a week. That's not a bad percentage. Some people are just, but people are open-minded. I think because we make them feel comfortable.
So you make them feel comfortable by serving a version of chicken soup.
Exactly.
So what else do we have in the chicken soup?
So this goes to about simmer for about 45 minutes or so. We're going to go into seasoning. Now a little bit of fish sauce. Turn this up a little bit. And even the music, too. Like, what kind of music do you play? Do you play Thai music? Do you play, I'm a big hip-hop geek, so I do play hip-hop now and then. But we found other ways to make it fun for everyone. So we found some Thai music, pop music that are somewhat sampling American classics. So there's like Thai covers of Santana that we play sometimes. Believe it or not, it's actually pretty fun. And like I said, creating that that blanket or that hug when they walk through the door. I'm going to the Thai place. Wow, this place smells like fish sauce. I don't know, it kind of stinks. But they see the posters, they hear the music going on. I'm like, oh, okay, like this is familiar to me. I can sit down and be at ease and get the menu, and it's like really explanatory, and so it all correlates. And by the time they get their food, all of a sudden you're in their hands, and they're like, oh, sure, you recommend this? I'll have that. I've never tried this before. And some of the dishes, I have to admit, are really extreme. We do a beef larb that's a tartare, and we put beef bio in it. It's really traditional in Laos and in the north. Beef bio, it's like, who the hell eats beef bio? But we use it as a seasoning. It creates a bitterness. It helps settles the stomach, and
But that's why we need the chicken soup.
That's why you need
right?
the chicken soup.
We need the chicken soup to get that beef bile down. Yeah. So, what else? How would we finish the soup?
So once it's going for a couple minutes, we'll season with some salt to adjust the seasoning.
And you'll just serve it like that. There's no straining or anything going on. Or...
There's some aromatics at the end. You toss some garnishes and spice at the end. So
So through the magic of TV, we've got this finished.
Yeah. So the brilliance of the soup is, like I said, I never skimmed it. The feet's there, the head's in there. You got gelatinous qualities of the skin, the feet. Nothing's strained. Nothing's ever strained. Everything's very, very coarse and very true. And this is the way we serve it, bones and all. We tell people it has bones, and sometimes there's most likely there's offal in it. And sometimes we get chickens that has, undeveloped eggs, before the eggs has a shell surrounding it, and we throw that in the soup, and it is what it is, and kind of true mimicry of what you would get, like your yard chicken, your yard hen, cooking for the family. So once this, I'm gonna add a little bit of salt.
So it's a good thing that we have lunch coming up right after this, because this has kind of made me a little hungry here with the 3 dishes. And I think that we've had a good session where we've been able to see 3 different cooks working in 3 different cities, 3 different cuisines, but different ways that they make the diner feel comfortable, but also be able to take a risk in trying something new. So I think that that's kind of really important to take away from this session, is doing that. So for the last finishing of this, how would you finish the garnish?
Will be the last garnish of dish would be like your more softer herbs and final aromatics. So you have the hard aromatics that you need to extract by boiling and simmering. Also, you have other herbs too and spice too. So we have scallion whites just for crunch, for like fresh onion. We have dried chilies that we toast in the dry pan, give it aromatic, like a little bit of smokiness. Sawtooth herb, commonly as you see in Vietnamese cuisine, hot and sour soups as well. It's called sawtooth because of the serrated edges of the leaf. So that gets...
So we have Vietnamese coriander, we have fresh coriander, and any squeeze of lime, I assume, as well?
Yes, exactly. So fresh coriander, again, thinking about my mother staying right behind me, shaking her head, using all the stems, roots sometimes, if it comes
that's
available.
The other takeaway is don't throw away any stems. If not, you're throwing away your kid's education.
And then usually lime, just a little bit of acid. And again, it's something familiar. It's chicken soup, but done and approached in a different manner. But yeah, it's comforting and very, very familiar. But when you taste it, it's very, very different on the palate. And that's Hawker Fare.
Well, let's thank James for his wonderful presentation today.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Thanks so much to our presenters, Cameron and Chef Matt, Rachel, and James. Before we go to lunch, a couple of quick announcements. Please be sure to enjoy the marketplace. I remind you about the book signings that are at the entrance to the marketplace today. There's also some fabulous entertainment featuring Cambodia, China, India, and Thailand entertainers. The dessert buffet will be up here at 1:55, and the next session starts at 2. Thank you so much. Enjoy your lunch.
Today I'm going to show you how to make banh mi sliders using Rich's Sweet Yeasty Dinner Roll and double rub pork. So let's get started. Everyone knows that the perfect banh mi sandwich needs the perfect bread. So I've picked Rich's Sweet Yeasty Dinner Rolls. We take these out of the freezer, place them on a lined sheet pan, and bake them at 325 degrees until they're golden brown. To assemble our banh mi sandwiches, we're going to use Rich's double rub pork, julienne cucumber, pickled vegetables, soy sauce, basil leaves, cilantro leaves, and mayonnaise. When our rolls are golden brown, we take them out of the oven. Now we're ready to assemble our sandwiches. We start with our roll. And split it, and you can see the air cells, the perfect bread. And to build our sandwiches, we'll start with mayonnaise. We'll add our double rub pork. And then our vegetables. Julienne of cucumber, pickled banh mi vegetables, a few basil leaves, cilantro, and we can add soy sauce and hot sauce to taste. And there we have it. We have banh mi sliders made with Rich's sweet yeasty dinner roll and double rub pork.
Rendang, one of Indonesia's most celebrated dishes, is a slow-cooked, spicy meat dish originating from West Sumatra. Originally used as a means of preserving meat in Indonesia's tropical climate, the rendang technique slowly simmers cuts of meats in spiced coconut milk. This slow cooking process is used to yield succulent fork-tender meats with rich, caramelized flavors. Unlike braising, the rendang technique reduces the cooking liquid until the sauce is completely dry. At the Kamandalu Resort and Spa in Ubud, Bali, William Wongso shows Steve Gilliba, corporate executive chef of Unilever Food Solutions, how to make a classic beef rendang.
And this is the dishes that favorite by the poor, the wealthy, the kids, the old, and whoever in Indonesia. It's all over archipelago.
And can you do other stuff besides beef?
Oh yes, they do. You do
So it's a basic
potato
cooking method.
Basic cooking method. The different ingredients, the different cooking time. But the finished product is principally caramelized beef curry. Has to be blackened. And also this dish, I can use the same thing, but I can make 3 dishes. First, beef curry, the light one. I add some stock. Second, brown curry, just before the rendang. And to keep going, blacken it, it becomes rendang.
So in different cooking stages, it's
Yes.
different dishes.
Different dishes.
Okay, that's-
So this is how unique is it. And also in 2011 was voted by CNN Go as the world's most favorite dishes called rendang Padang. Padang is the capital of Western Sumatra.
Okay.
But if you go to Western Sumatra, I've tasted more than 100 type of this dish. The principal difference is only the combination of spice inside. But the common sense of this dish is a caramelized beef curry. Everything has to look blackened. So the meat that I'm using, tenderloin, the local meat, the ratio of my ratio, I have 1 kilo of beef, 1.5 liter of coconut cream. If I say there are 100 types, but this is among the most popular, the mix is with garlic, the basic, shallot. If you don't have this small shallot like this, you can use the type that Indian normally use, the one that's
It's a little bit larger than that.
yeah, larger than this, and some clove. This is important, the red chili, and this is galangal. This is candle nut, not yet roasted. But always remember, this will be roasted anyway.
So you're cooking that along.
Yeah, because along.
Getting that caramelization.
And don't worry about the chili, because once the chili, after 4 hours cooking, it turns to be peppery hot. It's not chili hot. And then this is the basic. We ground. We make into spice paste. You cook slowly until dehydrate and make a paste. This kind of paste, this is a ready-made paste. The ratio is about 1 to 10. 100 gram to 1 kilo of meat. But if you ground this as a paste, you don't have to stir. It will, at the end, will be stir-fried anyway. Just put the whole thing with the coconut milk. And then tamarind. This is aromatic.
Lemongrass.
Lemongrass. And this is not commonly, it's not, you can have or you don't have it. This is a leaf of turmeric. And this is kaffir lime leaf. The rest is salt, pepper you need or you don't need. Let's turn the fire. This is the
coconut cream.
Coconut cream. I said this is the version when you use good quality meat. In the village, when they use some buffalo, some old cow, then they do reverse. They use the coconut milk first to tenderize the meat.
Cook the meat first.
To cook the meat with the spices, right? And then this is the
bamba paste.
Right? Okay.
Start mixing it in?
Yes. Stir it. So when you cook with the good meat, you have to half caramelize slowly this coconut milk, coconut cream, and the spice. Then you put the meat.
Right, so it depends on the cut of meat, really. So the more tender, less time in there, sure.
But in the modern way, I'm not going to let you do it for 9 hours, right? So I'm going to show you to do it with the modern way. Halfway, after you put the meat inside, you can put in the combi oven, 85 degree, well, 2 hours, 2.5 hours, it depends. Then you have to test. Then you finalize in the wok, batch by batch.
So you get the color you want.
Yes.
So really the mastering of the dish is really about the caramelization or color of, of the dish.
Yeah.
So you said that the cream was from basically the first press is just
the first press without
any water.
Without any water. If you use the other type of non-Indonesian coconut cream, which is much lighter, you have to use almost double. You cook the coconut cream, you reduce it, then you put. You see the color start changing because it start to caramelize.
Yeah, also the smell's starting to change too.
You don't have a choice, you do the wok pan, then you just do the first caramelization, then you put in the oven. The best is the cast iron pot.
So a heavier pot.
Yes, heavier.
And you were saying that you could do this with any So there's other proteins you can use, vegetables.
Oh, you can do, but if you do chicken, do the great grandmother chicken. Don't do the spring chicken.
All right, do the old
It
chicken.
is of the old chicken, yes.
Because you want the time to cook.
Yeah,
I mean, to get
and
the flavors.
also the duck, also very good. They also do the fern for vegetarian. You can do this for the manioc. Anything you can do with this. It's a matter of the timing, how far it's the cooking time of the protein of vegetables. The most important, when you go vegetable, you have to caramelize until dark brown, then put the vegetable and finish
Then finish
slowly.
it real
Yes.
quick, right?
For the family, they said I love to put the red bean. I love to put potato, the marble potato. It's just to say, I have 10 children. I can't afford to
the meat.
buy meat, so since using red bean to replace it. Okay, now just put the meat. Normally put chunky meat, 50 gram or just strain this blood because it will give you additional sour taste. Okay. So I'm going to leave you alone. I come back 3 hours
Gonna
later.
have some coffee here. So how am I doing?
We have a good time. We watch TV. We have the coffee. We sleep. Poor guy. This is how. Can you imagine 9 hours?
That's a
back
long
in
time.
the village? What they do? This we use a battle. You see, this is start to caramelize, but you have to be very careful because the sugar run like you see when you caramelize. You see black is
Then
too
it's
late.
going to get bitter.
Yes. So before slowly like this, the color will gradually change toward. But make sure for the modern kitchen, the transition period to tenderize, you put the whole thing in the
Sure,
oven.
in an oven or something.
In
for
the
a longer
oven
period,
for
sure.
85 degree, and then bring back to the wok or tilting pan, and then you caramelize the whole thing. Better to finish by brown curry because you cannot go back when you're already black. So you keep the brown curry. Anytime you want to black caramelize, you
keep
take
cooking
bite by bite, you do it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's choice. You can do brown curry, you add some water, stock, and you make curry also, brown light curry. So many ways to do with this dish. See this is separation, the oil. So the oil is roasting the paste and the skim of the coconut cream.
So I like how you said you could do it in sections. So you
Yes,
can really do
yes.
a lighter curry and then you want to finish to this.
Exactly. Not yet salt. It's not salty enough. Little.
No, there's enough. I mean, to me, there was enough salt in it. but-
Okay. So because
So there's some
normally
salt
they,
in the paste, yeah.
yes, you need
A little bit on the end.
and you can play also with this with the minced beef. So you do it faster, and you can spread on the bread. You can do sandwich. So it's choice. But again, the key is to caramelize the curry.
And that's caramelized. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Well, it's a big change from where it started, the color.
Yes.
I mean, we started out with the,
So
the
I always
coconut
say-
cream, a little spicy.
Yeah,
Now look
from,
how dark
from
it is
white
now. And
to black. This is rendang Padang or Western Sumatra caramelized beef curry. You have to say caramelized beef curry when you tell everyone to how to do it, because the caramelized, the point is very, very important. And Indonesian cannot eat this without rice.
And you said pretty much all the food is eaten with rice. I mean, that's the carrier for all the flavors.
Yeah. And some people deliberately like to eat this with hand. And when you finish the meat, don't throw the paste. You can do some other cooking. You can stir fry chicken.
Or
you
greens, you said, or potatoes.
You can cook with the potato, or you can put in the rice. You cook with the rice like a biryani rice, and it's very good.
Very nice.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you. Did I do okay?
You make my life easier this
that's
afternoon.
good. Thank you very much.
I have so much relaxed today by doing rendang.